Hey everyone. Somehow I set my video backwards. Anyway, I wanted to do a quick video for you guys, if there's such a thing coming from me, uh, about why would like you to attend the Freedom is the Cure rally. And after what I read for you today, to see if there's any reason why you wouldn't. In case many of you don't know, the Freedom is the Cure rally, the Freedom is the Cure was a phrase that was created by the John Birch Society in an effort to be able to combat the tyrannical state government edicts and local government edicts, and to be able to expose the fact that freedom is actually the cure for most of our illnesses here. As I've shared with you before, there's been no shortage of attacks on people like us, our good legislators, especially groups like the John Birch Society. We've had Vandersloot. I shared some stuff about Sheriff Ozzie, about they just hate people like us and they think that we're far-right extreme. Well, the Freedom is the Cure rally was first done by the North Idaho coordinator, Caleb Collier. And I believe they said they had 2,000 or 3,000 people and it was raining and it was cold and people ended up showing up anyway. I know it's going to be like 105 this Saturday. I'm not looking forward to that very much either. And I know that some of the older people and some of the people that can't handle the heat probably won't be there. Those will probably significantly diminish the numbers. I'm going to ask every one of you to do me a favor. Bring whatever it takes for you to show up. Bring a kiddie pool if you have to. Bring ice cubes or ice blocks and sit on them or put them around your neck or do whatever you can. Because this Freedom is the Cure rally, I think there's a lot more riding on it than we realize. We want to be able to send a message to the neocons that don't like us, to the communists that are trying to overthrow us, and to be able to help them understand that we are a force to be reckoned with. We all know that the communists with the BLM and the Antifas really want to be able to, create this 100 days of chaos to be able to force us all into subjugation under their rule of thumb. But I would like you to show up if you can. I don't want to take responsibility if you get sick. I mean, I might fall down too, who knows. But if there are not enough reasons to show up, for those of you that don't read the Idaho State Journal or I haven't figured out a name for Times News yet, but these liberal rags, Representative Hartgen has come out again and has blasted all of you. And I'm going to read for you his article. I have a rebuttal that's going to be posted on tommunns.com eventually. Maybe it just empowers me enough to be able to try to read that because it'll just make me feel good. Since the media is not going to cover it, maybe in some way everybody else will be able to see it. So Representative Hartgen, God bless your representative soul. He says, it's a conservative perspective. Representative Hartgen. We live in times of such viral hatreds. Wait till you hear my rebuttal when I'm done with it. Next Saturday, right here in Twin Falls, there'll be a wide assortment of fringe right groups, each calling for Governor Brad Little's political head. They'll take the microphones successively from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So he got the times wrong. It's going to be from 10 to 4. And actually our intention is not all to call for Brad Little's head. It's to be able to empower each other and to be able to stand together unified as that is being one of many issues. They'll take the microphone successively from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the soccer field and Splash Park, each given 15 minutes or so to be able to say what's wrong with Idaho today, which is nearly what they claim. If we're all lucky, they'll get minimum attention in the media and will go home splashed with some common sense, their loony ideas left in the trash heap of Idaho's history. Fat chance the media will ignore them. He really is out of touch, isn't he? The media doesn't want to cover us any more than they have to. The lead-off harpy, he says, Now, this is a representative, and he's disrespecting the lieutenant governor, okay? First of all, that's a problem, okay? Who would rather offer leadership, who rather than offer leadership for the state prefers to attack littles every turn. The first part of this that I want to mention, you guys, is neocons, they will tell us that we are divisive hatred people. And this is a very important point, I think. And they say that we attack them. Okay? This letter is an attack from them, and most of the stuff they say are attacks on us. And so hatred, to me, typically comes from the attacker, not the defender. And perhaps maybe Representative Hartgen doesn't realize this, and probably should. And she actually ran because she wanted to make Idaho a better place because she was tired of the same thing that we're tired of. It's nothing more than that. She'll be followed by Wayne Hoffman, Idaho's own little rightist tyrant. Whatever a rightist is, I don't know, but he really loves these adjectives. Then Firebrand Ammon Bundy, who's going around the state telling small groups how evil our police are. Well, I regret to inform all of you that Ammon Bundy won't be coming, and I wanted to be honest and forthright about that in case you traveled 2 hours to be able to hear him speak. Also scheduled are several Backwoods legislators, including gun-toter Christy Zitto from Hammett. Backwoods legislators? Who does this guy think he is? Governor Little? 3% toy militia soldier Chad Christensen, Ammon again he mentions it, and Representative Tammy, which he misspells her name, Nichols from Middleton. These folks are Idaho's own harpies of the House who shrilly blamed every twig on Little. Harridans who think they have the right to tell us how we ought to live and whom to elect. Let me tell you something, Representative Hartgen. If there's anybody telling anybody how to live, it's people like you. It's your neocon, Trotskyite-style, arbitrary worldview where you don't even understand the basic concept of the constitutional and natural law ideal behind consent. If we don't consent, you don't have any authority, period. So who's telling who what? You are trying to tell us how to live. That's really how it works. All we're trying to be able to let you know is the fact that you're deviating from your oath and you don't even care. If that is something that you find out of the norm and you have an issue with us trying to force you to adhere to your oath and you don't want to, you are unbecoming of a representative in Idaho in the first place. Then he decides that he wants to call Bill Cawley, I'm assuming, a radio troll, suggesting that the radio trolls will carry it all the following week. They're all mad at Little and the state's general leadership on everything from crimes against people to overcrowding prisons. Let me stop for a second, okay? You guys already know where I'm going with this, and perhaps I just want to mention a couple of things. From crimes against people, okay? 1 in 33 men, Mr. Hartgen, are held in Idaho prisons without being convicted. Okay? No speedy trial here. Okay? And let's talk about all of the laws that you create to be able to incarcerate these people. When we're talking about crimes against people, that's one of those things. And Representative Hartgen, you are guilty as charged. Who needs probable cause? We'll just hang you like you've hung us. And that goes right into the idea of overcrowded prisons, Representative Hartgen. Have you ever considered the fact that 1 out of 33 men have been incarcerated and many of them have not even been convicted? They're being held on possible flight risk. And that's actually from the mouth of a law enforcement officer that I know that knows. So when you talk about overcrowding prisons, we could go in a variety of different ways. But let's just say that we're taxed enough already. And thanks to you, we're not taxed enough, right? You want to be able to incarcerate more people by creating more laws, and then you want to tell us that we're guilty of condemning a government that tries to be able to overcrowd prisons, to build more prisons, to be able to take more money, to be able to incarcerate more people. Would you like to increase the number from 1 in 33 people to maybe 1 in 150 people? Maybe all males need to be incarcerated, right? If this is truly your conservative opinion, what you really are is a progressive. And those that believe that you're a conservative don't understand what conservatism is. Because when I read the definition of conservatism, it's actually a type of progressivism. Isn't that interesting? Because that's what he exudes in this article. He says they blame coronavirus for restrictions on so-called individual liberty and freedom. So-called individual liberty and freedom. Representative Hartgen, who do you suppose gets to determine what liberty and freedom are? You or us? Do you believe that you get to be able to stand there on your high horse and condemn everybody else writing garbage like this, telling us that we have so-called freedom and liberty because you didn't give it to us? Or was that something that was inherent by God? Or are you now God? I would just like to stop for a minute and say, if any of you have the ability to be able to talk to Representative Hartgen or his wife, two beautiful people that absolutely treated me like dirt both times I met him, I would like to be able to open this up to a forum between those two and myself. And I would like to be able to take all the hits they can possibly throw at me about why we're such bad people. And I would like to publicly have them shame me. Or maybe, God willing, that I do a nice enough job to be able to put enough egg on their face so that they don't write this kind of garbage anymore. I don't write this kind of stuff as an attack. I write what I do in defense of people that write letters like this in an attack. And I have absolutely no respect, and I have all of the disgust in the world for guys like Little and guys like Representative Hartgen and our Idaho leadership that thinks that they get to be able to tell us what our rights are. And then they get to write about what kind of bad people we are, and they in the position of public trust as a representative of the state of Idaho. And people just continue to allow it. I could go off on a litany of 12 or 14 years of activism about all of the garbage that we've had to deal with. But going back to the article. But what they really want is to control Idahoans' way of life, in which we now think for ourselves. Well, let's backtrack on that, Representative Hartgen. You say that we really want to be able to control Idahoans' way of life in which we now think for ourselves. First of all, this letter is not allowing us to be able to think for ourselves, and you're a hypocrite. Okay? You're telling us what we're supposed to think. The one thing that we want in the liberty movement more than anything is to be able to allow the government to be able to stay out of our way. I want to be able to enjoy my life without him telling me what I'm supposed to be doing and without him telling you what you're supposed to be doing. And you already know, ladies and gentlemen, with as long as this guy's been in office and the leadership that they have in the Idaho state legislature, they want nothing more than to put their jackbooted heel on the back of your neck. You hypocrite, Representative Hartgen. You poor excuse for a representative. We want to control you. You want to control us. That's really what you really want to do. And your leadership so far has been able to do it. And what better example to use than your support for Brad Little saying that we should all go along to get along and that this is somehow going to be temporary. You, by your very essence in support of Brad Little, makes you a hypocrite. It makes you support unelected, abusive, bureaucratic agencies to be able to make law that you know darn well that only the legislature is allowed to do. And you don't stand in representative of your constituency at all unless you've instilled enough fear in them that they actually are forced to believe you. You certainly don't give them the proper information that they deserve. Neither does our illustrious governor. And why do we have a problem with the governor? Because the governor is acting unlawfully. He's become a tyrant. He's become intentional in everything that he does. He doesn't want to listen to his constituents. He wants to listen to his cronies and his crony bureaucrats. That's what he wants to listen to. And he wants to kowtow to the globalist agenda. And if you can't see it already, you better start opening your eyes. Because things are going to get really, really hairy here before too long. When yahoos like this stand back and allow BLM and Antifa to do the things they do, and they spend more time attacking us than they attack the communists, that makes them communist. Are you following me? Can I hear an amen, brothers? Huh? Let's get real here, Representative Hartgen. Their mission is to turn Idaho into a rightist enclave. Representative Hartgen, can you explain rightist enclave for me, please? Do you realize that Idaho is the #1 place to go for all of the people that are seeking asylum from all of these other totalitarian governments? And why do you suppose that is? Because we're already a rightist enclave. Unless your definitions have changed. And you use rightist enclave as if it's a bad thing. You go further to say that we want to take that we're now here is something that if I had enough money, I would be able to take him to court and I'd be able to wipe his face in it. Now he's trying to be able to position us by saying that we are guilty of taking political directives from out-of-state extremist groups on everything from currency manipulation to the dismantling of our education and our public employee retirement systems to legalizing drugs and reaping the profits therefrom. I see a lawsuit taking political directives from out-of-state. I would like to call Representative Hartgen this afternoon and to be able to ask him if he has any proof of the fact that we are taking political directives from out-of-state extremist groups. Because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if he can't, he deserves a lawsuit slapped against him hard. And if he can, then all of a sudden he's sharing information that we probably need to know. Because I'm not necessarily sure I want to be linked with somebody that is taking directives from an out-of-state extremist group because I'm under the impression that I'm working for liberty in general, not working for the furtherance of a global agenda like somebody else is. So, Representative Hartgen, if you have evidence of the fact that we are taking political directives from out of state, then the next thing you have to do is to determine whether we're actually taking that voluntarily or we're actually being forced to take it. Because there's a different outcome for either one. When you talk about currency manipulation, I'm really interested in what you're talking about. Because what you're talking about are federal crimes. You're accusing us now of federal crimes of currency manipulation like Trump did with China. Okay? But it's a good thing that I have an idea about what you're really talking about. What you're really talking about is something that the Constitution is very specific about, and it's about kicking out the Federal Reserve, it's about re-empowering the Department of the Treasury, and it's about instilling a new monetary system, or going back to the old monetary system of a gold-backed currency. One where there's no engineered boom-bust cycle that destroys the wealth of the average American. Now, if we're guilty of that, I don't think that it's currency manipulation. I don't think that we're actually working on doing that. That is the desire of our heart. Because of the fact that you can't adhere to the Constitution, you can't adhere to the party platform, and you couldn't even adhere to law. You think somehow that you've got some kind of an immunity where you get to point fingers at everybody else and everybody else has to shut up. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I'm done with it. So you need to provide evidence of the directives and the currency manipulation and the dismantling of our education and the public employee retirement centers. Let's go to that. Dismantling is a strong word. And I will tell you unequivocally that I have no problem abolishing the Idaho Department of Education. I think education should be local. I also think education should be education and not Marxist brainwashing. But then again, Representative Hartgen, as a Marxist, you're either intentionally doing that or you're too stupid to understand the fact that you've been played. And I just need to figure out which one so I know how to be able to deal with it. So as far as dismantling the education system, that is a desire of our heart. It is a desire to go back to the rule of law, to be able to force government back into the box, adhering to the limitations that we were supposed to have held you to decades ago. And to be able to keep you from writing garbage like this, agitating people and disturbing the peace, which, by the way, is a state law that you probably supported, which you're now in violation of, by the way. As far as the public employee retirement system, I find it a little bit interesting as a public official that you would be sore about that. But then again, it is your retirement, isn't it? So who are you really saying this for? Yourself and protecting your cronies? Because you're certainly not protecting your constituents. Is there anything in the Constitution that talks about a public employee retirement system based on the back of the taxpayer? So if you guys can extort the money from the citizens, you can deplete our wealth, you can create through the defined benefit program when your stock portfolios aren't doing well, that it can fall on the back of the taxpayer. If I remember correctly, when I ran for the state legislature, I had to look up and do research on that to be able to find out exactly how ludicrous that was. If we're going broke, you should go broke. And you should go broke far before we do because you're a government official. You are a liability. Okay? You are not instrumental in generating wealth in this state. You're creating a vile cesspool, okay, of overspending and agitation and implementing your Marxist concepts in the way, in your own utopian world of what true conservatism is. If that's true conservatism, I hope to God nobody ever calls me a conservative, and I've hoped that for a long time. Okay? I consider myself a biblical constitutionalist if I have to put myself in a box, which is certainly farther away than you can ever imagine from that particular box, because Trotskyite Marxists don't fit any of those categories. As far as legalizing drugs, Representative Hartgen, let me ask you something. How do you feel about the FDA? How do you feel about big pharma collusion with the government? Does the government make money off of big pharma? What about legal drugs? You think legal drugs are safer than illegal drugs? Is that what you think? Take Prozac. You look at the average physician's desk reference. It's 9 pages of side effects on Prozac. Why? Because I know. My wife was a transcriber, and I had to read the PDR. I read it for myself. So I'm going to ask you, when you talk about what is legal and what is lawful, what you're clearly saying is in direct contradiction to what you said earlier, because you want to force us to be able to adhere to what's legal and define what's lawful rather than allowing us to do whatever that is. What you also don't realize is that you're allowing drugs that have side effects of suicidal tendencies that are depression medications, and you call that legal, and it's supported by the FDA. But you know what's really funny, Hartgen? The federal government has no authority in the Constitution to determine drugs. If it was anything, it would be at a state level. And you're also colluding with the big pharmaceutical companies, right? Because it's probably lining your pockets that probably align with your retirement benefit fund at our expense. So don't get me started on the fact that we want to legalize drugs. Pot is a lot less dangerous, and a lot of these other drugs, CBD or whatever, I mean, they're calling drugs that aren't even drugs. They're saying that hemp gets you high. That's like saying a cloth mask works, which you probably support. Do you not even think, do you not have evidence of the claims that you make before you do anything? You just go off on rants and assume things of people? You're not even interested in communicating with anybody. You just want to be able to carry your narrative into the media because I guess I just found out that you and the Times News are connected, and so that they have to feel like they have to kiss your hiney by putting your articles in there. Well, of course they're going to kiss your hiney. You're just like they are. You're just as leftist as they are. And you have the audacity to put true conservative on the front of this article? Who the hell are you even talking to? Do you think we fell off the turnip truck yesterday? And reaping the profit thereof. reaping the profits of legal drugs. Let's talk about profits, Representative Hartgen. Are you benefiting from the big pharma? Or maybe I should just be as bold as you are and say, you know darn well that you're colluding with the government and you're lining your pockets with your retirement fund. Should I just be so bold as to be able to say something wrong just because I feel it in my bones? There's no part of me in my honesty and my integrity that actually can make a statement like that, even though I'd like to. Reaping profits. Show me. You're going to accuse me of that? Show me. You're going to accuse my good people here of that? Show me. Because if you can't show me, then you need to be silenced. Yeah, you need to be silenced. Why we are here is a mixed bag of malcontents, gun nuts, tin soldiers, puffed up politicos, radio blabbers, and, get this guys, I mean, you can't even make this up, and tired old John Birch Society members who still think President Eisenhower was a communist agent. He doesn't know anything about the John Birch Society. Representative Hartgen, you know nothing about the John Birch Society. Okay? And we've never been wrong on an issue in 60 years. So if you have an issue about Eisenhower, perhaps you should look into our articles and to be able to have an open enough mind to be able to look at what the truth really is. And to also understand that our organization in 60 years has been more truthful than your rag in less than a week. Try to put that in your pipe, in your legal drugs, and smoke it. Why have we come to little old serene southern Idaho on a Saturday morning in August? Simple. They're here to recruit more members if they can to their various causes. That's probably the most truthful thing that he's ever written. Yes, we are there as a group to be able to recruit more members so that our numbers can grow, that we can be influential, and yes, we can take our government back. Not to overthrow the government, to be able to get you out because you are totalitarians, you are non-constitutionalists, you act as if you're non-biblical, and you're communists, which is the antithesis of Americanist. That's why we want you out. That's why we want to build a power base and build membership to be able to join not just the John Birch Society, but any other group that understands exactly what I'm saying to be true so that we can get people like you out. Because it is the only lawful way that we can do that. It's the only way we can do it. It's been more than 30 years since political rightism has reared its ugly head. Okay, guys, this guy's just calling himself a conservative. Okay, it says it right here on the front thing. It says a conservative perspective. He's condemned right twice. Conservatism is considered right, okay, to most people that understand what conservatism is. So you should be questioning, if you're voting for this guy, number one, who is he? And number two, why is he saying that he's a conservative and then he's condemning the right wing? It's been 30 years since political rightism has reared its ugly head locally when some misguided Jerome County folks did a nighttime cross burning. Did you see the smear, ladies and gentlemen? I didn't know about the cross burning, but did you know that? What he doesn't realize is that the communists and things like that are more responsible for that than the liberty folks are. You know, people he supports. And that's evident through the BLM movement and the Antifa movement. And as I read earlier, it proves the fact that the communists were using the black people to be able to further their cause to destroy America. If you haven't listened to it, feel free to listen to it. I read the entire booklet. Yet Idaho backwaters country has since become a haven for flat earthers, anti-science minstrel followers, and anti-governmentals of all stripes. This guy has no shortage of adjectives, I'll tell you that. And you love the way how he just completely discredits people by calling them flat earthers and anti-science minstrels. But he's probably the one that supports the cloth mask, don't you think? If he supports the cloth masks and he says that we're anti-science, then why has he not read the side of the box? Why does he not realize that paper masks are only left for sterile environments? Or the fact that respirators, most of the respirators and things that people wear don't even work to be able to prevent coronavirus in the first place. He's also probably along with the governor because the governor supports Agenda 21, I just found out. right? Which is sustainable development. And Hartgen, in lockstep with his leader, probably, as a toy soldier, he probably supports Agenda 21 too. But he'll probably call that a conspiracy theory because he doesn't know any better and doesn't necessarily want to. Here we go. Now it gets worse. For at least half the time since Ruby Ridge of 1992, you mean where the federal government abused its power? No probable cause, no anything. They illustrate yet another showing of how the nation makes room for all the matter of misguided. I would love nothing more than to go toe-to-toe with this guy. Misguided, that's what he said. Regional and national media will likely swarm in as magpies on the road. Now he's condemning his own media source, okay? This guy is condemning Times News. He's condemning KMVT. He's condemning all of those. And he doesn't even know better that the media doesn't have any desire at all to be able to cover our events, which means he's completely misled and completely out of touch. And he's your representative, Twin Falls. Sure, they'll get plenty of press attention. Fringies always do. But the real danger lies in when they're handed political power. Then they use it to bash others. You mean like you've done to us, Representative Hartgen? Just in case you don't realize this, Representative Hartgen, those people that you condemn are not attacking you. They're defending themselves from you. So when you go ahead and make accusations about how our great representatives that we have, the few and the bold and the brave that are consistent in their liberty worldview, you must understand that they're not condemning you. You're condemning them, and they're defending themselves. So quit with the Orwellian doublespeak, will you? Please just do everyone a favor and just shut your pie hole, okay? They don't know how to actually govern anything, much less a state. Oh, is this where we bow to Representative Hartgen? Can I see a bow, ladies and gentlemen? At the count of 3, everybody bow and say Om to Representative Hartgen for allowing him to be able to sacrifice his life for defending us and governing us because we're incapable of governing ourselves. Now, some people have told me that I shouldn't be angry, okay? But let me say something to you. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of public, okay? But I'm human. And when I see my people that I've worked really, really hard to get to know, and I've worked with them in the trenches, and I've carefully built my reputation, and I've carefully tried to be understood, and I've tried to walk the line and obey the law, and as I know it, you know, the lawful law, not the legal laws. And we're working to be able to try to find remedy when the government has no interest in offering that to us, which is unlawful on its own, by the way. I get really, really upset when he has to attack me. I didn't ask for this. I didn't write a letter to the editor that warranted it. It just came out. And he called me out. So if he called me out and he called you out, he called us out. And you have 2 opportunities here, ladies and gentlemen, depending on how fearful you are. This guy needs to be called out. He needs to be called out publicly. He needs to be, dare I say it, in my respect for other people? Nope, I won't. There's one thing that you can do. You could show up to this Freedom is the Cure rally, and you could get every neighbor that you know to come. Because that will be the best message and the most peaceful message and the most pointed message that you can send to this man that just accused everyone in Twin Falls of their rightism as being condemned. It's the best thing you can do. If you don't want to write a letter to the editor because you don't want to put your face on it and you don't want to put your name on it, show up to the event. If it's 110 degrees, it's still going to be colder than the day you end up in hell. And that's where he wants you. So I look at it this way. I didn't really want to be in 105 degree heat, but I'm not one to be able to step away from the fire when I have to. And I'm hoping you're not either. And I hope I remain that way, because these are challenging times. We never propose real solutions. That we don't know how to actually govern anything, much less to state. We just know how to yell and rant. Almost none of us have any public service or administrative experience. Even McGeehan, whose roles in Boise are largely ceremonial crowd insight events. Let's see. There's Eric Parker from Haley, who was last seen photo aiming a rifle at federal agents. And then there's Sarah Brady, somebody he's obviously never met, who helped the Idaho Freedom Foundation with a stunt at Meridian Park against local police for a phony arrest. A phony arrest. Representative Hartgen, that phony arrest is going to cost Sarah $50,000 by something that we can prove that wasn't law. And anybody knows that it's not law because we know that only the legislature, according to Article 3 of our Idaho Constitution, if you cared to adhere just a moment to it, is allowed to make law. So therefore, it is not a law. It is an illegal, unlawful mandate. It is the exposure of a tyrant at a lesser level. And the sooner you realize that, the better. And of course, our own Representative Christy Zito, whose first education funding votes in the House were against CSI funding, but who has never seen a gun-carrying bill she didn't like. Now he's condemning gun owners. He's condemning you. Those that support the right to defend themselves against a tyrannical government, which apparently we're going to need to do sooner than later. And he's doing his bidding to be able to try to get people to not like guns so that he can begin to disarm us, just like the 1963 document that talks about it, the Incremental Disarmament called Freedom from War. And the fact that the CSI was obviously, as you guys know in Twin Falls, having to deal with the refugee issue that actually I believe and I think, if I'm understand it correctly, it's been a while, was actually responsible for the government funding the schools, or funding the school that was actually funding using tax dollars to hire employees for Chobani because Chobani was bringing in such a big business. And then the people that were involved in certain cases had a hush order by the judge that wasn't allowed to be able to talk about the case. Or was that the rape of the young child? At any rate, Twin Falls has problems in that realm because there's not enough truth about what's really going on and not enough people to fight against it. And the never opportunistic McGeehan, he really has a problem with Janice, doesn't he? God bless her. McGeehan, who ran as a drain the swamp in Boise candidate, which presumably means getting rid of office holders. Yes, sir. Representative Hartgen, that's exactly right. Draining the swamp in Boise means getting rid of guys like you that have such an inconsistent worldview, that don't have any concept of consent, that don't listen to their constituents, that adhere to unelected, abusive bureaucratic agencies, empowering them at the expense of the taxpayer, extorting tax funding of us for infrastructure that goes directly into the pockets of unelected bureaucrats. Does that about cover it? The real rap on McGeehan, there he goes again. I love her more and more all the time. Folks, is that she believes she's above the law. She drove hundreds of miles this year from Idaho Falls to tiny remote Kendrick in North Idaho to protest a lawful order closing the bar. She's a bar owner herself, you know. Just what we needed is a public official to think they're above the law. So Representative Hartgen has a contorted view of what the law is. He actually believes that they should be in lockstep with the governor, like a real boy, and to be able to, and just to be able to rule over the citizens. We want to be able to support the governor. Representative Hartgen, our representative republic does not work to where you're elected to be a representative, and then you go along and play follow the leader like you're in kindergarten. It means you represent your constituency that actually voted for you to be able to adhere to the oath of the Constitution. And if they voted for you for any other reason, then the vote that they actually gave you, I would say, shouldn't even count. Because that automatically puts you in violation of your oath, which means that it puts you in a position of being unbecoming of a legislator of the state of Idaho. And you should be ejected. I would much rather have somebody take taxpayer dollars that's fighting for the liberty of a business owner during a time of tyrannical, abusive, bureaucratic mandates than I would to be able to have you sit there and get paid and your retirement funds writing garbage like this. It's about trying to be able to put our priorities in order. Your priorities should be defending the state of Idaho. It should be a consistent worldview. It should be an oath to the Constitution. It should be listening to your constituency. It should be looking at the evidence when something comes before you to determine whether there's evidence to be able to support wearing a mask, or you want to act like a tyrant in support of your tyrannical dictator, executive, governor. The choice is yours, and you've made it. I'm no longer saying that you're ignorant. I'm saying you're intentional in what you're doing. I'm saying the governor is intentional in what he's doing, and I'm thinking that they both need to be ejected. And if you guys still think that I'm off my rocker because I think that the governor, that I should be nice to the governor, I should be nice to the representatives, let me remind you about the master-servant relationship. The master-servant relationship puts us on top. We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, okay? We authorize the government, right? Within the realm of our consent. If we do not consent, then the government has no authority. And if you have a representative that does not believe that, then they need to be ejected swiftly. Of course, in this case, since the legislature can't stand up against the governor, I guess we're going to have to allow them to act as totalitarian as they want until we actually come back into session. Does that even make sense of our guarantee of our Republican form of government to you? And then he goes off again. He's not done. Now he tells the group that he's just a heartbeat away. Oh, she tells the group that she's a heartbeat away from governor. You know, I wish he was governor. And of course there's Bundy, who just last week led a noisy anti-mask government crowd and caused cancellation of the district health board meeting in Caldwell. Well, let's actually look at what this is, really, okay? This is really kind of important. And Ammon's been critical to the movement. I think anybody can agree to that. Maybe people don't agree with his mannerisms or the way that he does things. But let me put it to you this way. If you were a man in his position and you understood what liberty is, and you understood that the Southwest District Health is a violation of our guarantee of our Republican form of government, and they are regionalized, which actually breaches the separation of powers between the city and the county, that's a problem. The next problem is when the governor unlawfully gave him, delegated the authority for the Southwest District Health not to be able to have public comment or have public comment not in person. I don't believe that the governor actually had that lawful authority to be able to do. Then what they decide to do is they're going to have meetings and they're going to determine what laws they're going to create or what mandates, because they don't need to do that in the legislature anymore. So now they're circumventing the legislature, which is another problem. I thought about this long and hard. I thought, would I, as a peaceful man, knowing what I'm trying to do, would I put my foot in the door and prevented and tried to walk through and they tried to close it in front of me? I still can't tell you the answer to that. And I'm partially embarrassed for it because I feel like in my years of activism, I should know. But the choice was made. And here's why I think it was. Because our remedy is being denied. When your remedy is being denied and you're not allowed to go to court, and you know the courts are corrupt, and you know that justice is not going to be served, you know the governor's not going to listen, the only one that you know the representatives aren't going to listen because they either don't have the spine or they're too busy writing garbage like this, and you know that some of these laws or the rules that they're going to actually create minus public comment is going to affect you, that could lead to the absolute devastation of private property, allowing them to be able to walk themselves into your home and remove your children from your home and forcibly vaccinate you, I would say putting my foot in the door is the lesser of two evils, wouldn't you? And if it wasn't, I would like somebody that is some legal eagle to be able to tell me where my remedy lies if I didn't do that. And then let's also look at what happened because of that. It would seem to me that from my understanding, the Panhandle actually just didn't even bother having meetings about whether they were going to mandate it, or maybe they had a meeting and they said they were just going to mandate it, or just leave it as a suggestion. What if they didn't? And then I found out from somebody else yesterday that some of these boards are really interesting. In some of these regional boards, some of them are all political officials, which are afraid of not getting voted in, and some of them are just appointed bureaucrats. So the ones that tend to be less likely to impose these mandates are the ones that are actually the ones that are accountable to the people because they are in elected positions. The ones that have forcefully mandated, if I understand this correctly and the information they're telling me is correct, the ones that have the forcible mandates are the ones that have the highest number of elected bureaucrats. So what does that tell you? That tells you we're in trouble. And it tells you that we need to figure out how to be able to exercise or achieve the remedy we have for the abuse of government that we're experiencing. Because right now, if they continue to limit our options, violence is the last option we have. And if you can tell me otherwise, I would love to know what other options are available. I commonly now in this free country have to worry about where the line for peace ends and the line for war begins. Should I have to do that when I have my government that's acting lawfully? No. The only government that arms itself and attacks its people are the ones that know they're acting outside of their authority. Representative Hartgen, your article is pathetic. You are not a conservative. If you are, you've redefined the terms. You absolutely are hateful. You will attack little women that are half your size and half your stature. You will belittle anybody else to make yourself look better than they are at any expense. You will use any means possible to be able to try to propagate your garbage Marxism. You will do anything you can to destroy liberty, to be able to force your thumb or your heel on the back of people's neck, to force people to believe that you are somehow better than we are. Somehow you are more powerful than we are. And we have news for you. We're coming for you. We're coming for you, and we're coming for all of the other legislators that are acting unlawfully. And as long as it takes, understand that if you sleep well tonight, treasure that. Because one day, there's going to be enough of us, in regardless of all of the cancel culture, that know what you're up to. And we will not be silent. We will not be silent. Our numbers will continue to grow, and one day, you'll be out, and you will never be allowed back in. And my goal is to be able to expose you and everybody else that is aligned with you to grow the numbers of the people that we need to be able to make sure that we can show exactly who you are, exactly how hateful you are, exactly how spiteful you are, and to be able to prove that the Idaho Republicans, if this is a true example of what Idaho Republicans are, that the party is absolutely destroyed or it's absolutely revamped with adherence to our Constitution, adherence to our party platform, and a genuine care of each other as constituents, as the master and servant relationship, rather than just your little close oligarchical contingency. So with all of that, I wish you a short-lived political career, and I want you to know that I'm going to sleep well tonight because I've said my piece, and I hope this message finds you, and I hope you realize that we are coming for you, and that your days are numbered, and that you will be politically ejected from office as soon as there are enough people that awaken to the fact that you're a tyrant. And I say this all in Jesus' name. Amen.